Hello, I'm very excited today to tell you about these positive climate tipping points. As I've been doing this podcast, I've been trying to figure out what we can do that will have the most impact. And now we have this great report from the World Economic Forum in Switzerland that spotlights these changes. These relatively small policy changes can have these cascading domino effects of good things happening for our climate. And as each tipping point is achieved, it raises the chance of creating other ones. Number 1, electric vehicles. This is a fun one. We're actually close on this one, with sales up worldwide. So setting dates for end of fossil-fueled vehicle sales will accelerate this. Cheaper batteries that are made can then store wind and solar power, which creates more opportunities for green energy and making those green energies cheaper. The second one is green fertilizer. Most fertilizer now is based on nitrogen, which is causing greenhouse gas emissions. If it's switched over to hydrogen production, cheaper green hydrogen production then supports other industries like long-distance shipping, flying, and steel production. So they're talking now about making hydrogen power for airplane engines. And again, when this technology becomes more affordable, then it becomes widespread over other industries, not just in the green fertilizer section. So it can support long-distance shipping, flying, and steel production, which can switch to hydrogen and end carbon emissions. Third super tipping point is plant proteins. Increased use and production of cheaper than meat and good-tasting plant proteins would cut emissions from cattle and reduce forest destruction. Once these things become more widespread and more delicious, then they become cheaper to produce and buy than meat. Then we can start getting rid of meat, which actually creates quite a bit of greenhouse gases. If 20% of the market share switched over from meat and dairy to plant-based proteins, up to 15% of current farmland could then be used for restoring forests and wildlife. So that's great because you get these pockets of wildlife that can be connected and help with biodiversity. It also stores CO2 by planting trees and other plants. Governments can use their power to replace meat and dairy with plant proteins in schools, hospitals, and other large institutions. That could be a powerful change maker. What's so exciting about these three things is that they've been picked because they can trigger this cascade of positive actions. Electric vehicles, green fertilizer, and plant proteins are pretty easy to understand, and it seemed like these are very doable actions. Professor Tim Lenton of Exeter, who is involved in writing this paper, says, "The more that gets invested in socioeconomic transformation now, the faster it will unfold, getting the world to net zero emissions sooner." Now that we know where to focus our energy, I'll be writing to my local, state, and national governments about all these issues, and I hope you will too. Some actions that we can take right now are, for electric cars, write to your government and tell them that you want to see a target date for stopping selling cars that are powered by fossil fuels. For green fertilizer, India already has set a target of 5% by a certain date, I think it was 2030. Write to your national government and say that you want to see a date set for switching over from nitrogen to green fertilizer. If you live in the United States, this might be a good thing to approach your state government about as well. Third is plant proteins. So this is something that could actually be done at a city level. If you live in a city, you could write to your city council, your mayor, or whoever is in charge and let them know that you'd like them to start switching to plant proteins in food that they're providing in their institutions. I'm really excited about this report because I love seeing that we can create a domino effect of positive changes. Remember, up to 70% of greenhouse gases could be cut by just doing these three things as they create more change.